Hello, folks. Welcome to the Backroad Hits of Yesterday podcast. This podcast is about classic country, a genre of music I have loved since I was a kid. As this podcast progresses through the coming weeks, we will be focusing on several different artists from Whispering Bill Anderson, Roger Miller, Faron Young, Ray Price, among others. Heck, we might even talk about a Moon Pine RC Cola. Today I want to focus on Mr. Merle Haggard, though. Merle was born Merle Ronald Haggard on April the 6th, 1937 in Oildale, California. He passed away on his birthday at the age of 79. Merle had 6 kids, including Marty, Noel, and Ben Haggard, who carry on their dad's legacy. Merle had 38 number one hits on the U.S. country music charts. He overcame a troubled childhood, criminal convictions, and time in prison before his very successful country music career. He became very popular with the working class folks. Merle had hits such as Mama Tried, Okie from Muskogee, Fighting Side of Me, That's the Way Love Goes, which was written by Mr. Lefty Frizzell. It was released in December 1973 by Johnny Rodriguez. If y'all remember, he stole a goat. It went to number one for a week for Rodriguez and stayed on the charts for 14 weeks for Johnny. Connie Smith also recorded it in 1974. Haggard released the song in November 1983. Haggard's version was his 30th number one single. That's impressive. It spent 21 weeks on the charts and won him the Grammy Award for Best Country Male Vocal Performance. He then had a second rendition of the song in '99 as a duet with Jewel. This version went to number 56 on the country charts. That's the Way Love Goes has been covered by Willie Nelson, Randy Travis, Crystal Gale, Ronnie Dunn of Brooks and Dunn, and Alan Jackson. So Lefty Frizzell, who originally recorded it and wrote it, probably had no idea how big a hit this song was going to be. Merle Haggard was a great songwriter as well. This world will probably never see another Merle Haggard. This mess today, I wouldn't give you 10 cents for it, what they call country music, with the jelly rolls and the beboppers and all that. That ain't country music. People can argue with me all they want to, it ain't country music. Merle Haggard even appeared on an episode of The Waltons, October the 10th, 1976. The episode was called The Comeback. He played a band leader named Red, who had been depressed since the death of his son, which was played by young Ron Howard. You know, Ron Howard was Opie on Andy Griffith's show. Between 81 and 85, Haggard scored 12 more top 10 country hits, with 9 of them reaching number one. Like I said a while ago, that's impressive. In 1982, he and George Jones had a hit with Yesterday's Wine. And then in 1983, he and Willie Nelson had a hit with Poncho and Lefty, which was a very good song. In '83, after his divorce from Leona Williams, Haggard spent most of his next decade getting mixed up with drugs and alcohol problems. He suffered financial problems into the 90s. His presence on the country music charts diminished with newer country music singers coming along, such as George Strait and Randy Travis. Merle's last number one hit was Twinkle Twinkle Lucky Star. Haggard said he started smoking marijuana in 1978 when he was 41 years old. But crap, for many years I did the same thing. That's beside the point, I guess. But anyway, he quit smoking cigarettes in 91 and stopped smoking marijuana in 95. They claim Merle could look into your eyes with a deep look, not say a word, but he was trying to figure you out. Reminds me of my daddy, that's how he is. Anyway, in 08 it was announced that he had been diagnosed with lung cancer in May and underwent surgery on November the 3rd, during which part of his lung had been removed. Less than 2 months after his cancer surgery, he played 2 shows on January the 2nd and 3rd of 2009 in Bakersfield at Buck Owens' Crystal Palace, and continued to tour and record until shortly after his death. In 2016, Haggard was once again hospitalized. His concerts for April were canceled due to his ongoing double pneumonia, and on the morning of April the 6th, 2016, on his 79th birthday, the world lost Mr. Merle Haggard due to complications from pneumonia. Very sad day, I remember it well. Merle was buried in a private funeral on his ranch, April the 9th, 2016. His longtime friend, Mr. Marty Stewart, a well-known country artist as well, he officiated the service. During his long career, Merle received numerous awards from the ACMs, the CMAs, Grammy Awards. Merle was inducted into the Nashville Songwriters Hall of Fame in 1977. Then in 1994, the Country Music Hall of Shame, I call them, but it's the Country Music Hall of Fame and Museum, decided to put him in the Country Music Hall of Fame. And the Oklahoma Hall of Fame in 1997, he became a member. In 2006, Merle received a Grammy Lifetime Achievement Award. Very well deserved. All of that was. Like I said, there'll never be another Merle. In July 2007, a 3.5-mile stretch of 7th Standard Road in Oildale, California, where Haggard grew up, was renamed Merle Haggard Drive in his honor. I could go on and on about Merle's achievements in the country music world. To me, he was the greatest. You know, I've always been a big Hank Jr. fan. Most of us old mountain boys was. But I also have been a big Merle Haggard fan. I used to go to bars with my daddy when I was little, or his friends, and they'd be playing cards, shooting dice. You had to take a butter knife in there with you to cut the smoke. It'd be so thick. But that's where I started learning country music from. That'd be Ray Price playing, Merle, Hank Williams, you name it. And I'd just sit and listen to it. And most of the time I'd have to drive my daddy home. I was only 9-year-old driving a 1963 Ford truck, 3-speed on the column, at 9-year-old. But I learned a lot from them old-timers back in the day, because they'd be picking an old guitar, or banjo or something, you know, and that's where I started falling in love with country music at a very young age. Anyway, I listened to a lot of Merle's music all the years I drove a truck. It helped me get through the workday. I was a truck driver. I drove locally for years. I first started driving a truck in 1988, and just recently retired a year ago. Ain't gonna get into all that, but anyway, country music helped me get through my work and helped me get through a lot of black years in my life that, you know, and music has that ability. It will help you get through. It's the best medicine you can get, I think. Music helps me out a lot. But Merle influenced a lot of country music artists through the years. Merle even sung a lot of gospel music. Let's see, my mind went blank. It usually does that. But he was very talented and well loved through country music. In 1972, after Haggard had become a country music star, the governor of California at the time, Mr. Ronald Reagan, who later became president, one of the best presidents we ever had. A lot of people might argue with me about that. Everybody's entitled to their own opinion. But Mr. Reagan granted Merle a full and unconditional pardon for his past crimes. Going back to his time of being in and out of jail, Merle's older brother, Lowell, gave Merle his first guitar at the age of 12. Merle Haggard taught himself to play, influenced by Bob Wills and the likings of Lefty Frizzell and Hank Williams. While his mother worked, Merle started getting into a lot of trouble. His mother sent him to juvenile detention center for a weekend, but his behavior worsened. At the age of 13, he was stealing and writing bad checks. In 1950, he was caught shoplifting and sent to a juvenile detention center. Merle worked as a potato truck driver, a short order cook, a hay pitcher, and an oil well shooter. In 1951, Merle returned to Bakersfield, California, where he was arrested for truancy and petty larceny. Merle was in and out of detention centers. In 1956, Merle got married, but he was plagued by financial issues. Like we've all been there. It ain't, I've been there so many times in my life. In 1957, he tried to rob a Bakersfield roadhouse, but was caught, convicted, and sent to the Bakersfield jail, where he tried to attempt escape. He was transferred to San Quentin Prison on February 21st, 1958. His prison number was A as in Apple, 45200. Merle earned a high school equivalency diploma and kept a steady job in the prison's textile plant. He also played for the prison's country music band in 1960, where Merle attended a Johnny Cash concert at the prison where Cash sang Folsom Prison Blues. This had a huge influence on Merle. Upon his prison release in 1960, he set out for a career as a singer-songwriter. And we all know where that went. One of the most successful country music singers, artist, songwriter, musician, you name it. Merle was it. After he was released from San Quentin in 1960, Merle began digging ditches for his brother's electrical contracting company and was soon performing again and recording with Tally Records. I watched a thing the other night, country music reunion, where they said that Tally Records was just a little bitty building. It wasn't even room to piss in the corner in it, just a little. Anyway, the Bakersfield sound was developing. As you all know, Buck Owens was part of the Bakersfield too, but Merle, he was on his way. 1967, he recorded I'm a Lonesome Fugitive, which was written by Liz Anderson, which was the mother of Lynn Anderson. If you know your country music, you know Lynn Anderson had the song I Never Promised You a Rose Garden, which was a very popular song back in the day. I remember when I was a kid, heard it all the time on local radio stations. But anyway, it went on to Merle's first #1 hit. Along with his band, The Strangers, Merle's career was finally taking off, with songs like Sing Me Back Home and Brandon Man. We all know three things that Merle sang about more than anything. That was Mama, prison life, and the working man, which includes all of us people, that worked for a living. He was for the working man. and he loved his mama. And that time in prison I think it really helped Merle out, because he made a complete 360 in his life. In 1969, Merle and the Strangers released Okie from Muskogee, which was a huge hit for Merle. And stepping back a few years to 1973, his Christmas hit, If We Make It Through December, peaked on the charts. That song last year meant a lot to me because I had to retire to health issues, and I struggled buying my kids something for Christmas. Excuse me, folks, it's just a sentimental moment there. But, American anthems such as America by Charlie Daniels, Lee Greenwood's God Bless America, but Merle's Okie from Muskogee and I Wonder If They Think of Me, which was a song by Haggard in 1973 about American POWs in Vietnam. These are all held as anthems by the silent majority and still stand true as such as today. He had a number one hit in 75 with the theme song to the TV show Moving On. Will and Sonny. I loved that show. Sonny Pruitt. But anyway, which gave him a lot of attention from the American truck driver. And that includes me. I come from a truck driving family. My grandpa was a truck driver. And my uncles, and I made a career out of it. I made my family a living. I drove local. I wasn't like them. They drove over the road, but I wanted to stay local. I still missed a lot of stuff. My kid growing up, birthday parties, whatever that I missed, because I had to work like any decent daddy does, or supposed to be. But man, what a career that Merle had with hits. Hits I'm even leaving out. We could talk and on about Merle Haggard. 1987, he had a song, Seashores of Old Mexico, which was redone by George Strait. George Strait carried it. I really didn't check, but I probably up at least top 10. I mean, it's George Strait, I love hearing Merle do the song Family Bible, which I think was written by Willie Nelson. Merle disliked modern country music. He praised artists like George Strait, Toby Keith, Alan Jackson, and Sturgill Simpson. If you don't know who Sturgill Simpson is, you need to look him up and check his music out. He's really got some good stuff. He sounds a lot like Merle. He really does. He plays the guitar, and boy, he can make that thing twang just like Merle could. But if you don't know who Sturgill Simpson is, look him up. I believe you'll enjoy it if you enjoy Merle Haggard's music. Toby Keith was backstage one night at a Haggard show when Merle got really sick. He asked Toby to fill in for him. Toby said, "I will." And Toby carried the whole doggone concert out and done all of Merle's songs because he knew them all. As I have said, I could go on and on about Merle Haggard as a singer, songwriter, musician, family man. He loved his kids. I do believe that. They always boys, played music with him, and they're really good, really good. The one, what's his name? The oldest one, Marty. He sounds just like Merle. And then Ben makes that guitar twang just like Merle can. Man, if you ain't heard it, go check it out.
And Noel, just like
and he
looks and all.
He looks just like his daddy, yes sir, or yes ma'am.
Thank you.
By the way, folks, this is my wife and daughter.
Hi, y'all.
My daughter, she's got all this podcast stuff. So this is all new to me, but I retired. I had a lot of health issues that I'm trying to overcome, and doing this just to set my mind straight. Sort of, I've been doing a little bit of fishing here and there with a friend of mine. Matter of fact, we're going fishing in the morning. but I'm slowly getting my life back. After a while, I thought I was a goner. I really did. I kept fighting. I thought I was a goner, but those of you that know me know I'm a fighter, and I'll fight to the end. But how I want to close this podcast out each week is thanking each of you for your support. I'm hoping this thing takes off. Hoping to even get a few viewers that call in and whatnot. Maybe y'all know more knowledge about classic country than I do. I'm no know-it-all. I paid attention, and to me, paying attention in life is the hugest, biggest thing that we can do. Paying attention. But like I said, I want to close it out each week by saying thank y'all for listening. You know, I'm just no poor country boy that hoping to make it to heaven someday. Pray for us, pray for our country. Keep classic country playing on your radio. And take care, folks. We love you. God bless.